Hello, I'm Ro Crosbie from Tero, shooting another video from my porch as a follow-up to my remarks a few days ago about what people need from their leaders during this pandemic. In the last video, I talked about how the COVID-19 experience for many is more aligned to the stages of grief and loss than it is to the experience of stress and change. That difference calls for different leadership actions. The response was positive. Thank you for that. And I've decided to make a few more short videos on the subject. And in this one, I'll get a little personal. How am I leading during this pandemic? No one could be blamed for thinking I refer to the vast research Tero has examined on the subject of leadership. But if you think that, you'd be wrong. I began my training to lead during this pandemic in 2016. When I became a widow after the sudden and unexpected passing of my husband. People have called me strong. I'm not that strong. I just did what I needed to do and leaned on others in the moments when it was all too much to bear. This is why I feel so confident in saying the experience of this pandemic is much more like grief than it is ordinary work stress. When Elizabeth Kubler-Ross introduced her 5 stages of grieving, it was assumed they were linear. Denial was followed by anger, then bargaining, then depression, until we finally arrived at acceptance. My experience, along with so many of you, proves that the stages of grief are not linear. They're more like waves that are crashing on us in any order and often out of order. You may wake up in the morning stunned to discover that this isn't just a bad dream. Find yourself angry that your work-at-home schedule now also includes full-time school teacher, bargaining with yourself that an agreement to self-quarantine will be rewarded with a speedy return to normal, and depressed that there is no clear path forward and no end date. Welcome to the stages of grieving. Fortunately, acceptance is also one of those stages. When we find glimmers of acceptance in our days, along with it comes creativity to do things we may not have otherwise done. While we may still long for the old days, we begin to fashion a new reality that isn't so bad. As leaders, we have a responsibility and an opportunity to use this time to help people tap their creativity, discover their passion and values, focus their motivation, and reach their potential. But before we can do any of that, we must recognize that they are wrestling with the very real experience of grief and loss. For me, I reflect on the actions of those around me who were compassionate and patient as I traveled that painful road of life without my spouse. And it is from them that I gain valuable leadership lessons that I am able to implement in my own leadership role now.